Consentmo operates in one of the toughest categories to build in, which is privacy, compliance, and regulations. No hype, no shortcuts, and absolutely no room for mistakes.
The fine for not being compliant is either 20 million euros or revenue, whichever one is higher.
Most merchants still feel that compliance is just a pop-up, say yes, no, but in reality, it's more about, handling the data, tracking the data across the entire store. In this episode, we are going to talk about building trust at scale, growing a compliance product inside Shopify.
So we actually started back then and we had 120 extensions in OpenCart. People think GDPR is something only for Europe. If you're selling and shipping worldwide.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the SaaS podcast. This is the Shopify App Founders Edition, Season 1. I'm your host, Yuvraj Kevte, founder of the SaaSup.com, an independent platform curating the top 10 Shopify apps across all categories and helping merchants, agencies, and founders make the better tooling decisions. On the show, we go behind the scenes with people building the Shopify ecosystem. These are candid, founder-led conversations with no fluff, no scripts, and no surface-level stories. Today, I'm joined by Elena, founder of Consentmo, the team behind the GDPR Cookie Consent by Consentmo app, which is one of the most trusted privacy and compliance app out there on the Shopify App Store. Consentmo operates in one of the toughest categories to build in, which is privacy, compliance, and regulations. No hype, no shortcuts, and absolutely no room for mistakes. In this episode, we are going to talk about building trust at scale, growing a compliance product inside Shopify, and why boring categories often hide the strongest SaaS business. So let's dive in. Elena, it's great to finally have you on the podcast. I have been looking forward to this because Consentmo plays such a critical role in the Shopify ecosystem, even though most merchants hope they never have to think about, privacy, compliance, or anything like that. How are things going on your end?
First, think about the amazing intro. I didn't expect that. But yeah, compliance is definitely something that merchants don't want to deal with, and we totally get that. Yeah, as a Shopify merchant, you need to focus on growing your business. You're most probably passionate about the product you're selling or whatever you have actually built. And the last thing you need to think of is how do they manage my compliance, my privacy, my consent logs, and all these things. So that's essentially what we're trying to do. Where our app's main goal is to make compliance automated in a way that you set it one time, it adjusts in time with your needs. If you're growing, it also covers that, it grows with you. And at the end of the day, it just runs on the background so you can actually have a peace of mind and have a better sleep at night. So yeah, that's the main idea, for you not to think about that, but it actually gets taken care of on the background. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, before we dive too deep into the product, and to start off, I would really love to hear your story in your own words around what you were doing before Consentmo, before Shopify apps, and how did you even got into privacy and compliance?
Yeah, that's a nice question. Well, first, we actually started in OpenCart, which is another e-com platform. I think most people that are listening to this already know.
Wow, those guys are still around, huh?
Yeah, I think they are still. So we actually started back then, and we had 120 extensions in OpenCart, which is quite a lot. This is like the equivalent of having
Crazy.
120 apps in the Shopify App Store. This is insane. So we did have a very good experience with what we can create, and we kind of validated some ideas, and we saw what works and what is not working exactly in that platform. And at some point, we're like, you know what? We're kind of the bigger seller of extensions in OpenCart. We need to do something else. We need to pivot. And at that point, it was the beginning or the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, when we decided to actually pilot some apps on Shopify. And we started with 4 apps at a time, one of which was the GDPR app, which at that time had a very long name, something like GDPR, CCP, and cookie management, blah, 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 the last person to close the door. And at some point, we saw that the GDPR app actually got the most traction there because there is not a very good solution servicing that at that point. Let me put it this way. It's we all know GDPR kind of came into effect in 2018. that
18, yeah.
point, maybe there was not a very, very good solution in Shopify for this. And we saw this one got the most traction. So I think it was 2023 when we decided to rebrand it as Consentmo, because we wanted to kind of go away from the cookie idea, because at some point maybe cookies will get obsolete. We'll see, like, you see what is happening right now with agentic commerce. I think at some point
Right.
compliance will be just like sending the right signals on the background, but not really something that is like a banner in your face. So that's why we went with consent. Like, we wanted to have the main word to be consent, because typically this is what you're doing. You're either giving or not giving your consent as a user. And
Right.
our whole idea mentality is around the consent itself. So that's how Consentmo was born. And also it's like the more we kind of added, because it's like it takes a moment for you to give your consent. But then
Right.
once you do that, there is so many consequences and stuff going on the background that take decisions for you. So it's really interesting. So that's why we were like consent more, consent for a moment. We were playing with these words, and that's why it was consent more at the end of the day. So yeah, 2023, we rebranded like this. I think it was in July. It was also around that time that we also got the Build for Shopify, which is one of the
Right.
early birds with the Build for Shopify program, to be honest. And yeah, fast forward to today, Consentmo is just gaining more and more speed. We've been shipping a lot in the past, I can say 3-4 months, like so many ideas that we're bringing to life. We're super excited. The whole team is super motivated, and we just can't wait to even to continue and just push forward. So yeah, that's like a brief story of where we started. Like, we have the expertise from OpenCart. Now we're pouring our knowledge into Shopify, and we're super excited to be here and bring our ideas to life with Consentmo.
No, that's fabulous and a great backstory. I mean, I'm building the SaaS hub, and we have reached out to over 5,000 plus apps so far. Personally spoken with over 650 plus odd app founders, and what I've seen is most of the apps are in very safe categories: upsells, subscriptions, apps, and whatnot. These are the categories which have definitely a lot of pull, definitely a lot of glamour and traction. But what I'm seeing is that most Shopify app founders or even portfolio of apps have been avoiding categories like compliance, theft, anti-protection, because it feels complex, it feels risky, and the laws and the governing things are always constantly changing. But you guys went straight to it, which really needs a lot of conviction. Coming back to what you were saying, that you got built for Shopify very early on, would really love to touch upon how was the overall experience with built for Shopify, and what it truly means for merchants, like why merchants should care whether an app actually have a build for Shopify badge or not.
Yeah, and another great question. Well, first, again, as I mentioned, we were early birds. Like, we were contacted from Shopify to get into the program early. So at that time, I actually clearly remember that they didn't even have the Build for Shopify badge ready. So we kind of manufactured it ourselves so we can put it on our listing page. Like, it was so early in the program. It was insane, because they even didn't even have the exact steps on what we needed to exactly follow so we can actually be built for Shopify. So I remember the process took us like maybe like a full queue. It was the first queue of 2023 or something. And
Wow.
we pretty much redesigned the app, like the whole app, because every section needs to work exactly as Shopify. And it was an experience. Like, we were just we were not exactly sure what we had to achieve. But with time and with the approval process being back and forth between us and Shopify, we actually got it. And as soon as we got, it was not as soon as we got approved, it was some months after we got approved and the program was officially out, that we actually got the badge. And why is it important for you to check if an app has the badge or not, like the Build for Shopify one? Well, for sure, we have gone through a very extensive process of being approved for that, which means Shopify is confirming that not just design, but also privacy-wise, requirements-wise, all kinds of different requirements just to be in the platform are being met, like the highest quality that there can be. And not just that, I feel maybe the process has changed in the last years because I just see people announcing this on socials and all this. I'm not sure how it changed, but again, making sure we maintain this because they all the time audit. Like I think once or twice a year, the Shopify team is doing some kind of audit to make sure
Right.
that you're still on the same level of compliance, of following regulations, of requirements, design, all these things. So someone is holding you responsible for this, and that's what you need to be looking for when you're downloading an app, because it's not just okay, like everybody can release an app on Shopify, although you also need to go through a very extensive approval process just to release your app into the App Store. But having the build for Shopify gives you an additional level of stamp of approval that this is an actual legit app that you can run in your store. So yeah, I think at this point also Shopify is kind of nurturing and giving like wings, let's say, to the apps that actually have the build for Shopify. So
Right.
I'm really glad that back in the days, like it's at this point 2 or 3 years ago, I decided for us to drop everything and just go with the program, because it looks like right now it's kind of benefiting us a lot. So yeah, it's a necessary. It's like it's not even a nice to have. I think it's a must have
It's a
thing for
must-have
us.
today.
Yes,
Absolutely.
exactly. I think back in the days it was kind of it was a delighter. Like you're just browsing the Shopify app store and you're like, oh, this is like built for Shopify. That's nice. I think today it's a must have for sure. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think by default, if someone is listening and they're planning to build their app from day one, from ground zero, you need to make sure you are building your app around the build for Shopify requirements, right? It just means more peace of mind for merchants, and build for Shopify apps kind of just becomes the default norm for them while they are evaluating between multiple apps and you are the only one having the build for Shopify credibility. Now let's dive into the problem itself. Elena, if I may.
Yeah.
GDPR itself is very complex. Sometimes when I used to discuss with merchants, a lot of them don't even understand what GDPR truly is. From my experience, what I feel is there is very less knowledge around the overall compliance, consent aspect. What do you think, or based on your experience, all the conversations you have had with merchants so far, what do typically merchants get wrong around GDPR and cookie consent?
Yeah, that's also another one that's I really get a lot this, to be fair, and I especially see this in demo calls when I have with merchants. The main misconception, I think, is that people think GDPR is something only for Europe, and this is still the case, which is quite interesting for me. When I have a sync with a merchant, like I think that the US-based merchants are currently getting to know that they have something in California, so they're kind of aware. But at this point, it's not just California. From January 2026, we have 20 different states running their own legislation, which means that if you're shipping and selling within the US, you need to be compliant. And it's not only that. Canada has it, Brazil has it for years now, South Africa, Japan, Australia, New Zealand. It's all around because every country is like, oh, Europe is doing this. Let's do something similar, but in our own way. So everybody is joining on their own terms. If you're selling and shipping worldwide, even if it's just within your country and you're located in Europe, if it's just within France, you need to be compliant because again, the fine, I'm not sure how many people know, but the fine for not being compliant is either 20 million euros or 4%
Wow.
of your revenue, whichever one is higher, like whichever one is higher, which is something that you don't want to deal with. And also,
Absolutely.
exactly, I get why people may not be like, of course, like I know because I'm in this, like I know the fines, I know how things go, but you need your store to be secure so you can do your thing. And each country has also some specifics. Let's say, for example, Austria, Switzerland, and Germany have an additional thing that they need to show on the banner. It's called like an imprint link, like an additional, let's say, confirmation. So each country has a specific, and we're trying to be up to date on top of all of these things so we can allow, and we have like the tool that gives you the options, the configuration freedom for you to configure it the way you need per region as well. Like I can show this banner with the imprint link for Germany, but for California, I'm going to show something totally different because the local law requires something else. And this is something that you can easily achieve with Consentmo, and you don't need to think about it. You just need to say, okay, I'm operating in this, and that region. Let's configure it this way. And also, of course, let's not forget you're running some kind of ads, you have some pixels and all these things. We can configure that as well. So you don't need to think, like, we have the peace of mind, it's configured, it's running. So yeah, pretty much that's it. I think the main thing is, as a Shopify store owner, you need to ask yourself how you're operating, and depending on where and how you're shipping and running your business, do you actually need to have this? And if you need, what should it be and how should it be configured? Because most probably just a yes no banner does not work in most cases. They're like cosmetic floating banners that don't really do anything when you click them.
Yeah.
And it's kind of simple, but once you click a button, so many actions need to happen on the background. And we're taking care of that. Like, for example, when a person says reject, we're blocking scripts, we're blocking services and all these things. And it needs to be like that because we need to honor the user's choice. At the same time, there's so many other apps that are just flooding the market and they're not really doing anything. And I think it comes down to educating merchants as well. Maybe we need to have more materials around that, not just blogs, but knowledge-based articles, and maybe it needs to come from Shopify as well. But yeah, we're trying to elaborate on this and explain this to merchants every moment or chance we have with them, like just one-on-one, like me and you are talking right now.
Right.
And they seem to be more and more aware. That's my recent finding, is that they actually come to us and they already are aware that there is something that they need to do and they're not currently doing okay, and it's not right. So yeah, we're helping them with that, but for sure there is still a misbelief, or like not even being sure that they need to be compliant actually. So let's start from there. That's the main thing, depending on the region of operation. Yeah.
Got it. And that's such an important point that you made just right now, because most merchants still feel that compliance is just a pop-up, say yes, no. But in reality, it's more about, handling the data, tracking the data across the entire store, and not just the UI UX cosmetics pop-up that you add on the store, right? So I think
Exactly.
Consentmo is doing an amazing job. Merchants really don't have to think much about it. And when it comes to consent privacy, you mentioned $20 million fine and everything. I think with all that, the stakes are truly high, and it's no longer about basic things like conversion tweaks and all. It's mostly about your legal exposure, trust, and saving your business from one step away from going to bankruptcy, right? So I think that's really important aspect which businesses really need to think about. And personally feeling building a SaaS itself is a very hard job, but building something around regulated spaces where the law keeps on changing, the interpretation change based on which city, which country, which location you are in, expectation keeps on rising. I think you guys are doing an amazing job, but I would really love to understand, what was the hardest part about building a product like Consentmo in this challenging ecosystem?
You know what I think is getting comfortable with the fact that your app is not gonna stay the same as it is today. we let go of the idea of being, let's say, married to the product as it is right now, because it's it changes all the time, and it changes in the best way, like depending on customer demand, on new regulations, on how things are built in Shopify, because also Shopify's idea of what good design is within Shopify changes all the time. So if I need to even compare the app right now, February 2026, with what we had February 2025, it's quite different. Like just UI wise as well, or even the way it works on the background, just also from the backend perspective. I think people or builders specifically for apps in Shopify should get comfortable with the idea that your app is going to evolve all the time, it's going to change, and that's okay. So yeah, I think that's one of the things that I can surely say from our perspective. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Change is probably the only thing constant in the entire world. I mean, it's also
Exactly.
true
I
about
love that
product.
actually. Like
Yeah.
change is the only constant thing in the universe, and that's actually amazing because nobody wants to stay the same. Come on, you need to evolve all the time. Like you're here on this planet, even as a human being, to evolve, to educate yourself, to become something better every day. Like you should have some kind of a vision of yourself 1 year or 5 years from now, and you're aiming to that. And once you get there, you have another vision for 5 years ahead. So you're constantly kind of chasing this version of yourself that is getting better and better. And when you look back, you're like, whoa, look how much we went through.
Yeah,
So yeah.
the entire progression chart. That's just amazing. And I could also imagine that there is always a constant balance between, the legal precisions and merchant simplicity, because merchants probably don't care or don't want to care much about the legal documents. All they mostly care about the peace of mind they'll be receiving after using an app like that, because if trust fails, then everything fails, and then monetarily also the brand could just close down. And Consentmo is probably one of those apps that's just still growing steadily in this uncrowded but not so glamorous market. I don't think you guys market a lot. There are no viral gimmicks which I've seen around internet or on blogs or on Shopify App Store. I'm really curious to understand, like, how did the growth actually happen for Consentmo?
Well, again, at the beginning, when we actually first released on the App Store, there were not that many solutions that were servicing this in such a good way. Of course, with time, some other apps came around, also Shopify solution for compliance. But again, the platform is offering something quite basic, and it's mainly like a banner that actually looks kind of trustworthy. But as soon as you try to run some kind of third-party scripts and pixels, you can no longer count on that. So growth-wise, it both happened naturally, but also I think maybe positioning ourselves and also being active on in the places where we know our merchants are as well kind of works for us. And yeah, working with agencies that trust us and all of these things, it's like for sure it's not just one thing. It's numerous things that kind of work together, and at some point, of course, we're trying to make the app better and better, and actually introducing features that are not even there on the market yet. We're kind of inventive. We're inventing creating solutions. Okay, let me rephrase this. We're inventing creative solutions for problems that we closely monitor with our merchants and we know they have.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, for example, I'm going to give an example with a specific feature, the smart geo targeting. This is something that we've been bouncing around in our heads for months, but the way to implement it is quite, complex in a way that it would not require a total, rewriting of the whole app. Otherwise, we can easily be like, okay, this feature requires a total rewrite of the whole app, so let's do that. But it's going to take us months. And at this today, in this time, and the fact that how actually the ecosystem is behaving and everything, you need to ship fast. Like you don't have months to ship something. You need to be
Right.
first, you need to ship fast, and you need to make it sure it just works. So yeah, we're trying to the being creative in this specific process is super important. So once we release a smart geo targeting, which was the beginning of December, and we saw the adoption of it and how people were like, yes, that's exactly what I need because I'm selling worldwide and I need to show one thing in Europe and one thing in the US and a totally different thing in Canada. And you were like, yes, we're servicing this need in the best possible way. And at that point, we were the only people actually offering this in the market. So again, listening to your customers, but with a grain of salt, because not everything that comes from your merchant is something that you need to implement, of course. And I don't know, being fast enough with creative solutions that you can actually ship fast as well. It's crucial. I think it's very important. So yeah, I think those were the things that kind of currently keep us on the leading in compliance in the App Store. Yeah.
Awesome. So I think three takeaways which I can take from your growth trajectory is: first, listen to your customers. Second, decide what are good to have and what are must have features. And third is crazy fast shipping. So these are prima focusly the 3 points I would like to take away from that. Now,
Yeah, let me add something. Listen to your customers with a grain of salt. Let's put the salt thing there. And also maybe know when to say no. Because yes,
absolutely.
as every other SaaS company, we're doing weekly plannings and all these things, but sometimes something happens and we're reprioritizing very quickly and we're like, okay, right now, this is the most important thing we need to work on and this is going to bring the most value. So let's work on that. So it's not only, okay, we're set in stone. This is our planning. We're going to follow it blindly. Like when we were talking about change, it also applies to that. We need to be quick to adapt when something like an opportunity comes up and we need to like grab it and seize it. So yeah, it's also about that. It's also about reprioritizing, knowing when to say no, and just again going fast and shipping fast on whatever we think brings the most value. Yeah.
Awesome. Now let's come back to one of the most, I won't say controversial, but one of the most lessly looked part around in the SaaS ecosystem, which is retention, or you may even want to call it churn. Every category has a different kind of retention cohort or a churn percentage, and I'm sure it's very different for an app like yours, which is a must-have app if someone is selling products in a particular region. What actually keeps merchant with Consentmo for long term? Like when you talk to them, what are like the 2-3 top reasons why they probably don't churn or stay with you for a longer time?
Yeah, churn is especially important metric for a SaaS product. But once you set up Consent, more specifically our app, you see the long-term benefit of it because we're also like sending, monthly reports of how we're performing and what we have done for you for during this month. But also, yeah, we're trying to facilitate as much as possible in your compliance needs, day-to-day compliance needs. So we're servicing quite well what merchants actually need, again, not only by listening but also knowing what to ship and how it should be. So
Right.
once you have the comfortable setup of setting up not just your banner but everything that comes with with that, which means it can be like your Google scripts like analytics and tag managers and Microsoft consent mode and Facebook pixels and TikTok pixels and all these things. The cost for you to do this with a different solution would be quite high because it's already working and implemented here, and it would affect for sure your advertising statistics and all these things which you don't want to mess up with.
Right.
So yeah, once you're very well implemented with your setup, with everything you're doing and all of the third-party services you're using, you actually see how things are supposed to work from a compliance sending signal way. So yeah, it's not an easy thing to just walk away from. And at the same time, you see it all the time. We're shipping new things that are facilitating further your setup or compliance needs. So we're trying to be in front of our users' faces. Like we're not bombarding them with emails, let's say, but we're for sure sending emails where we see value that they can actually extract value from. So yeah, we're making sure to show how the app is actually valuable for them, so they can be assured that they need to stay with us. Let me put it this way. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what I feel is over a period of time, when you build that trust, when you build that credibility, when you rack up those amazing 5-star reviews, when a merchant install an app like that, switching from that just sounds like risk to them, right? They don't have to go through the entire trouble of exploring a new app, seeing whether it'll work or not, and exposing themselves to huge financial liabilities and legal concern. But I think that definitely is a strong positioning, but at the same time it definitely also brings in a lot of responsibility, and that's probably what drive you guys to keep up with the overall demand and keep up shipping amazing products. You have been building inside the Shopify ecosystem for years now. From your perspective, what does Shopify expect from a trusted compliance app like yours?
That's a good question. Well, again, I'm aware that the platform had to do something that is kind of native. They have a native solution for compliance. But for sure, with what we've seen for the last two editions and what they shipped, in the summer and also in the winter ones, we see that Shopify is heading to the agentic commerce, which is quite normal. We all expected that.
Right.
But the more we go into agentic and everything that is related to AI and GPTs and all these things, we're kind of stepping away from compliance in a way, because you cannot really do a progressive advancement in agentic related commerce or any kind of improvements at the same time being compliant and following all regulations. Like
Right.
the advancement itself is kind of pushed with people being ahead of this and thinking about compliance later. So at this point, I feel like Shopify most probably is kind of expecting from apps like ours to kind of be ahead of the game when it comes to how our compliance signals are going to be sent in the era and the age of agentic commerce, because
Mhm.
we're really shifting from, again, something that is in front of your face like a banner to something that actually needs to work on the background and send the right signals on the background when the customer is just chatting, with ChatGPT, let's say, and they're completing a checkout within ChatGPT from Shopify.
Right.
So at this point, I think this is the next kind of the next step we all need to take. And it needs to be something that actually quietly, works on the background, but at the same time delivers the results that we currently see with the banners that are super visible and people are making choices and all these things. So it's going to be more on the sending signals from on a browser level with all of these with the GPC signals that we already have been implemented with, let's say. So yeah, it's really, I think all of the apps, not just compliance app, needs to start thinking this way and how they can actually keep their relevance in the age of agentic commerce. So it's not just, Shopify towards us. I think it's Shopify towards everyone. And I think we all noticed the email they sent about changing their policy around the end of February. So for sure they'll be shipping something around that time
Right.
related to agentic commerce. I think we're all excited to see about that and what's it gonna be. So yeah, we need to be ready that the scene is changing all the time and we need to adjust to it. So to be fair, I'm looking at it and also my team from a very exciting place. We're not like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? It's just another batch of work we need to do. You know what? Bring it. We're ready. We want to do something interesting. Yes, we're just looking towards this with excitement, and we're curious about the opportunities it's gonna open for all of us. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, last couple of days since the new update came in, a lot of app founders have been talking about it. A lot of them have raised their concern, but I really loved your attitude. Bring it on. We'll see how it goes.
Of
Uh,
course.
I do have this $1 million question for anyone who's kind of trying to build a Shopify app, let's say in not so glamorous space, but something not exactly compliance, but anything which is super niche, but quite an essential of an app. What 1 2 tips you would want to give them if they want to start building something today?
Yeah. So that's kind of on the other opposite of our app, because we knew about the regulations, so we knew everybody's gonna need this. So it's not like super niche as what you're saying. But if I'm starting with something that is servicing an issue, like it's servicing a problem for a specific niche, I would for sure find some real life merchants that may be having this issue, so I can validate my idea first before even having a product first, to be fair. Like I would, even before building, I was, okay, we have so many tools you can do a little prototype with at this time, in these days, that you can for sure kind of do a little prototype in a matter of hours or days, and first validate with real life merchants if this is something that they're actually looking for and they'll actually get a benefit from. So you can actually maybe pour afterwards what you envision for the product to be. Because I think maybe we're away from the age that people were kind of building, and then they release to the public and they see what kind of happens. But maybe still people are doing this kind of mistake. So validate your idea for sure. Like find a very good problem first and make sure you're servicing this problem in the best way possible. It is not yet present on the market in the Shopify App Store, let's say. and then validate your idea with the merchants. Like find real life merchants around you, go talk to them. Like talking to people never gets old, no matter how many
Absolutely.
GPTs or accounts you have in different LLMs. Talking to people is the best way to validate your idea, to actually see if you're servicing something, because at the end of the day, people are making the decisions. So yeah.
No, absolutely. That's like $1 million takeaway from here. Talk to more people before you even write the first line of code, because today building an app has become much more easier than the start of let's say 2016 or 18. We have boilerplates available. We have platforms like Gadget.dev, which I tested a couple of weeks back, and I have a 99% production ready app available. The only thing left is me going ahead and submitting it. So it
Nice.
just becoming very crazy. But I think the problem a lot of people still face is maybe connecting with right people where they do fine. And one of my good friend Jonathan, he runs this platform, App Store Research. I've
Yeah.
used it extensively as a seller. I've done 700 demos probably, because I consult with other apps also. So in the past couple of years, since the platform has been around, I've used it extensively. And if you're a Shopify app founder trying to validate your idea and not sure who to reach out, how to reach out, and if you have some small investment around these conversations, App Store Research kind of is like a good way for you to go ahead. And if you want to build a Shopify app, maybe you can also check out Gadget.dev. I think these two platforms are simply amazing. Now, thanks a lot for such an amazing takeaway. I think that's one of the biggest learning factor from today. Now, here's the next segment, which I truly love, which is a quick fire round. I have about 4 or 5 questions for you. You just have to.
Just sorry to interrupt you. I want to also add, we also use the platform, the Shop Experts one, and I can tell from my perspective, we did book some demos with real life merchants from there, not
Nice.
just users of Consentmo, but also like people that didn't know about compliance or users of other apps that are for compliance. And it was a really interesting experience for us. Plus we got some ideas, we got some brainstorming opportunities with them, and afterwards we also kept contact, we updated them for features and stuff like that. So it's a really nice place to start for sure, and validate also. So yeah, it's a very good take that you actually added here. Yeah.
No, absolutely. I personally used it, and I only recommend things that I personally use. So I think
You sound
App
like
Store
a power
Research.
user from what I heard.
Yes, I've done ton of calls for a ton of apps. Name
Wow.
it: subscription, wishlist, app builders, reviews app. Yeah, you name it, and I think most of the categories we have covered it. Next segment, and which also brings us towards the end of the podcast, which is the quick fire round. I have a couple of questions. You have to respond as fast as you can. If you want to explain something, you can always go ahead and do that. All
You
right, all
see,
set?
I tend to take my time with answers, so let's see how good I'll be in
Take
this
your time. Take your time. For you, we can call it a slow fire round.
round. Okay.
Okay. So, what's the one Shopify app that you really respect and it can't be Consentmo?
Again, was one Shopify app, sorry?
That you really respect or that you really like or admire, and it can't be your own app.
Yeah, okay. Let's see. Well, I think we all know about the success story behind Judge Me, so they're doing a pretty good job. But right now, like an up-and-coming app that I really admire from the site, and especially on LinkedIn, is Alia. So yeah, these
Shan.
guys are doing an amazing job. So bravo to them.
Absolutely. Shout out to Shan. I just sat down with him last week. We recorded a episode. So before
Nice.
this, his episode is gonna go live. So I'm sure you'll see him giving his pearls of wisdom. Okay,
Amazing.
moving on to the next one. The one mistake you learned the most from in this all years of developing Shopify app.
Okay, let's see. Maybe sticking too much with something that we know in our course doesn't work. Yeah, you need to be fast on either, we're not talking about the products only, but fast on saying goodbye to people that you don't think are fit for the company, fast on saying no. Just, I like this saying that goes fail fast, fail forward, because the faster you go through something, the faster you find a solution. And it goes for everything, for people, for products, in life. So yeah, sticking with something for way too long, when you actually know and your gut knows like trust your gut feeling. Your gut knows that you need to say bye to something. So yeah, that will be it.
Awesome, awesome. And what's the one thing a merchant should take privacy more seriously about nowadays?
Let's see. Just being aware what's happening. You don't need to be following all the compliance updates every like now and then or every day, but be aware if your store is within a region that actually needs to be compliant. Once you know that, you can find the best solution around you, of course. But again, if you're building on Shopify, make sure you go with something that's built for Shopify and it's already approved, because there is no better solution that can handle your compliance needs, and we're talking about compliance here, than a solution that is actually built for the platform itself. Because yes, we have so many solutions outside, outside Shopify in the App Store, but those solutions are implemented in your store through your Team Liquid file. So the data is handled somewhere outside of Shopify. Makes sense? So when it's built for Shopify, the data is within Shopify, because what apps like us are actually doing, we're sending calls to Shopify, and then they're sending calls back to us, so we can actually be, you know what, this customer does not want this, so you go and erase their data. And we're just dealing with calls. We're not like injecting something into your team and pulling this data out of it. So when it comes to compliance and you're building on Shopify, think twice when it comes to solutions outside and build ones for the platform. Because
Absolutely.
also that's one of the reasons why we only have an app for Shopify. We want to service Shopify stores the best. Like, it's not just being a very, very good service outside, it's also servicing the platform and its needs and sending the right signals within that. So yeah, that's my take.
And there is a saying, when you serve everyone, you serve no one. So having your specialty around Shopify definitely helps. Build for Shopify adds that additional trust level. And on the top of that, if anyone is curious about hunting some apps or getting some apps, you can also check out the SaaS Hub, where we are also doing an additional independent level curation, checking out the app demos and listing those apps. So if Shopify App Store have about 14,000 apps, you probably see only 1,000 apps on the Shopify apps on the SaaS Hub, as we go curate only the top 10 apps in all categories. One last question I have for you: if people want to know more about Consentmo, how they can implement it, if they can even see a demo, how can they reach out to you?
Oh, specifically for demos, please reach out directly to me. I'm the person, like, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm most active on LinkedIn. You can find me there. But apart from this, of course, on our website, from our listing page in the App Store, so it's consentmo.com is our website. LinkedIn, Elena Tsacheva, as you see my name here written. So yeah, you can find us anywhere. I'm really active on LinkedIn. If you want to book a demo with me, I'm more than happy to explain about the awesome things we're doing around compliance. So yeah, you'll most probably end up with me, because yeah, I'm one of the people that really loves explaining the awesome things we're doing in Consentmo. So yeah, and I really love it every time I finish a demo and I follow up with an email and the guys are like, "Hey Elena, thank you so much for the very fun call we had the other day." And I really love that, because you know what, compliance is not a very interesting topic, and it's hard to make it interesting and kind of relevant. So I'm trying to bring it, I'm trying to make it fun and understandable, and that's what I'm currently striving in. So yeah, if you want to book a fun demo for compliance within the Shopify realm, I'm here.
That's just awesome. And I'll also drop in all the details in the show notes, so that if anyone wants to learn more, they can directly reach out to Elena on her LinkedIn. Link for booking a demo, and link to the Shopify app, their website, and everything. All right, guys. Elena, this has been a fantastic conversation. Consentmo is a great example of how trust, discipline, and long-term thinking can build a category-defining product. For everyone listening, if you're a Shopify merchant selling globally or operating in the EU region, make sure you check out GDPR Cookie Consent by Consentmo on the Shopify App Store, or visit consentmo.com. Again, I'll drop in all the details in the show notes too. And a quick note, that's right, branding done there. And a quick note about the SaaS Hub. If you're a Shopify app founder, if you have an amazing app that solves real merchant pain, submit your app at thesaashub.com for vetting and curation. And if you're a Shopify merchant, head over to our Merchant Central for CRO playbooks, growth tips, and if you even need any app fees negotiated, more than happy to help with that too. This is Yuvraj Kevte, and this is another episode of the Shopify App Founders Edition on the SaaS App Podcast. Signing off. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.